Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm going to take a look at another car and perhaps buy it. I know that's probably a bad idea. If you know me, you know that I have too many cars already and many of them don't really work properly, but that hasn't stopped me before, so let's go. So my chariot of choice today is going to be my 2002 Jeep Grand Cherokee. You might have seen this vehicle pop up in a video of mine before when I was talking about my fleet. I haven't made a video of this vehicle yet just because I haven't had time. It's basically just been sitting in my yard, but it's a very capable vehicle. Today I'm going to be using it as a tow vehicle, so if I do happen to go purchase this car today, I'll have a way to get it home because apparently I have no friends and nobody wants to go with me to go buy this car. So the Jeep will be my friend today, we hope. But you'll notice that the hood is up. That's because the battery keeps going flat, as they say. Basically, it's got some sort of parasitic draw, but I think it'll be fine today to go tow this vehicle. We'll find out. Okay, enough screwing around. Let's go take a look at this car. It's about an hour away, so let's hope the old Jeep makes it. Now you might be wondering, what the heck am I going to take a look at today? Now this is actually a vehicle that I don't really know a whole lot about. I've never owned one, I've never driven one. I've actually never even owned a vehicle by this brand. I've owned a lot of cars in my life, but never one by this particular brand. The car that I'm going to look at today is one of the first vehicles that was sold in the United States by this company after a long partnership with Chrysler. So that might give you a hint, probably too much of a hint. You'll probably be able to figure it out. But I haven't seen one of these in ages. It's been a really, really long time. They didn't sell very many of them when they were available, and there's not many left on the road today. All right, enough yapping. Let's go take a look at this vehicle. I'm excited! Oh, hands on the wheel, hands on the wheel. All right, I'm here. I actually just talked to the owner. I just test drove the car and I bought it. Yes, I bought a new vehicle and here it is. Is it this one right here behind me? No. How about this one? Is it this one right here? It's pretty sweet, but no, not this one. It's right over here. It's a 1985 Mitsubishi Galant. Now, as I mentioned, I know very little about these cars. I know very little about Mitsubishis in general. So it's probably a terrible idea that I just purchased myself an old Mitsubishi, a very old, rare, and obscure Mitsubishi that you just don't see anymore. There's some issues with this car, but I only paid $1,500, so I'm pretty excited about that. Oh, this thing brings me back. Look at this thing. This is awesome. Just check out this cool instrument pod going on here. Look at this thing. It's got working power windows, it's got power mirrors, tape deck. It runs great, drives pretty well. I'm pretty excited for this purchase. A super rare, obscure, hard to find Mitsubishi that runs and drives and looks pretty damn sweet. I'm excited. All right, I'm gonna go get a tow dolly for my Jeep and let's bring this thing home and drive it around my neighborhood a little bit. All right, we're home. The Jeep did just fine. The Galant did not fall off the tow dolly, so I'd say that's a good day right there. So let's get this thing off the trailer and take a closer look. So Mitsubishi has been selling cars in the United States under their own brand name for almost 4 decades, and even longer if you consider that they had that partnership with Chrysler, where their vehicles were rebadged as Dodges and Plymouths. So I think they thought of it as a way to sell more vehicles and to branch into the US market. And after several years of selling their vehicles as Dodges and Plymouths, they endeavored to sell Mitsubishis in the United States under their own brand. So starting with the 1983 model year, Mitsubishi had some of their own branded vehicles for sale in the US. They had the Cordia, the Tredia, the Starion, the Mighty Max, and the Montero. think they had the Montero in '83. Mitsubishi experts can let me know. I'm not a Mitsubishi expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm pretty sure they had a few vehicles for sale in '83. And a couple years later in 1985, they brought this to the United States, the Galant. This is actually a 5th generation Galant, also known as the Eterna, Sigma, Galant Sigma, Sapporo, and V3000 in other markets. This is a midsize, and it was bigger and a bit more luxurious than something like an '85 Camry. All right, let's get out and take a look at the styling of this thing. Oh yeah, can't get out. Handle's broken, and I don't have the keys, so I actually have to climb out that way. Cool. There's always something broken on old cars. Now, some people have said that the 5th generation Galant kind of looks like a French design, and I would have to agree with that. It kind of reminds me of a Renault 21 or a Renault Medallion, maybe almost a Eagle Premier, which is basically a Renault Premier. Some people have said it kind of looks like a Citroen. Yes, I can see some French influence here, but to me, it's decidedly Japanese. I really dig this low-cut wheel well in the back here. That's a nice design touch. I also really like this wraparound glass right here by the C-pillar. Just super boxy. That's one of the things I love about 1980s car design, are just all of the angles. Very hard creases on every edge. Now the front end, it kind of looks like an Camry. It kind of looks like a Stanza a little bit, but I think the reason why we say it looks like other cars is because they just didn't sell very many of these in the United States. We're just not used to seeing them. Aside from a few very small dings, the exterior of this car is in excellent shape. All right, let's take a look under the hood. Now this Galant has a 2.4 liter inline 4-cylinder making 101 horsepower. It's interesting to see how far over the engine is to the driver's side. This gigantic airbox right here, that is huge. All right, let's take a look at one of my favorite parts of an old 80s car, the interior. So apart from the very boxy nature of this interior, the first thing that you'll notice is this pod right behind the steering wheel. So on this pod, this is where you can turn on and off your lights. You can adjust the windshield wipers. The turn signal is located right on this thing, which is a very, very strange turn signal. It's got cruise control that you can access right here. Here's the dimmer switch. And on the right side, this is where you can change your intermittent wipers. You can change the temperature for your HVAC system and the fan speed. So, and the cool thing about this pod is that it moves when you adjust the tilt wheel. It's also got power windows, power locks, power mirrors. Now that might seem commonplace today, but back in the mid-80s, these were luxury features. Down here behind the shift lever, you'll see it's got a cassette player and an AM/FM stereo. Pretty straightforward controls for the HVAC system. Aside from the temperature and fan being on this pod up here, it's strange that they separated those two things. Okay, you want to turn on your AC, you want to adjust the temperature or your fan speed, you got to do that over here. All right, let's see if it's got the original owner's manual. Oh, yes, it does. Awesome. There's a couple trim pieces broken down here and a couple minor cracks on the dashboard, and the door handle's broken here on the driver's side. But apart from that, this cabin is in really good shape for the age. And check out this seat fabric and these very Volvo style headrests. I'm curious if this is faded or if this was the original color. Kind of looks like the original color. All right, let's go check out the back seat. This is pretty sweet, a nice velvety storage area right here. Even has adjustable headrests in the back. Luxury, luxury, luxury. All right, check this feature out. Reclining seats in the back in 1985 in a Mitsubishi. It's a nice feature. They go really far back. That's pretty cool. All right, let's check out the trunk. It's got a very high lift over, which was something that Motor Week would probably complain about back then. But yeah, this is huge. It's a little bit dirty, but that can be fixed. So So I only drove this car about 2 minutes before I bought it. That's all I needed to make the decision because this car is awesome. So there's probably a few things that I didn't catch during my test drive because I'm not usually very thorough when I buy a vehicle. I know it's sort of a character flaw, but just I had to have it. So I'm super excited to drive this around the neighborhood a little bit and see how it drives and find out what problems it has because it probably does have a few problems that I missed. But yeah, let's experience this 1985 Mitsubishi Galant. Okay, so it has a loose belt. Need to take care of that. Also, maybe a bit of an exhaust leak. Have to take care of that too. Oh, look at that, just stopped. Let's drive this thing. What's the horn sound like? Horn's not working. Guess we won't know. Turn signals work? Yes, they do. How about that? Headlights work, everything works. Fan, let's try the fan. Oh yeah, but it's a little, a little dusty. All right, let's try the cassette player. It works. That's awesome. That is so cool. So, all right, let's actually drive this thing. Yeah, I really like this thing. Aside from an ever so slight clunk when it downshifts, maybe that just needs a little bit of top up on the transmission fluid, I can't really find anything wrong with this car. Okay, yeah, I can't get out of it. The door handle doesn't work. And there's a little bit of a rattle, but I think that's just the wheel covers. In general, this car held up pretty well over the years. Has a really nice floaty ride. I really love it. Pretty good turning radius. Not exactly fast. I think the 0 to 60 on this car was about 13 seconds, which is pretty average for the day for this type of car, a mid-sized sedan. This one came with 101 horsepower, which was quite a bit more than the Accords and Camrys of the day. Definitely had an advantage in that regard. And just in terms of the overall experience, I feel like this is probably a nicer experience than a Camry or Accord of '85. It's got a little bit more legroom in the back. It's got a little bit more space in the front. It feels more luxurious. I don't know. This one might be a keeper. I'm really enjoying this car. A lot more than I expected. This is a pretty fine automobile. And just aesthetically, I love looking at this dashboard. This pod is just ridiculous. It's kind of like Subaru level weird. Yeah, this car is not sporty. It's not quick. I wouldn't want to take it on a back road ever. But this could be a nice, just kind of around town cruiser. And the other surprising thing, this car only has 110,000 miles on the clock. It's not overheating. It accelerates well. Something's got to be up. I don't usually have good luck with vehicles, so something's bound to pop up here. Yeah, there was a little clunk, so it does clunk into gear. See, I told you something was bound to pop up. Hopefully that's just a fluid thing. We'll find out when we get this thing home. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about this vehicle. So one of the fun things about driving this car around is that pretty much nobody will know what it is. I mean, you know what it is, but most average people will have no idea, nor will they really care. This is kind of an obscure car that's not valuable. That's maybe what I specialize in, or rare cars, forgotten cars that nobody really cares about. Now, they didn't sell very many of these back in the day, and there are certainly not very many of these left. I wouldn't be surprised if there's no more than maybe 20 of these left in the United States. If you have one, let me know, because I would really like to know, but my guess is that there's just not that many. One of the things I like about buying vehicles like this is that I can take something that is more or less unloved and give it some love. Treat it like a car that should be saved and not just something that's disposable. A lot of cars were treated as disposable in the 1980s and 1990s. Yes, cars are simply a mode of transportation. They're simply a hunk of metal. But there's a lot to love here, and there's something worth saving. All right, I think that's gonna be just about it for today. You're probably asking yourself, what are my plans for this car? Initially, I thought I would buy it, drive it around for a couple weeks, and flip it. But after driving it for a little bit today, this might be maybe not a long-term keeper, but I'll probably keep this car around for a little while because it's pretty sweet. I've never really owned a car like this. So I'm kind of looking forward to driving this car around, and hopefully one day soon we'll have another Radwood show in person, and I'd love to bring this car out to one of those shows. 1985 Mitsubishi Galant. I didn't expect to like it that much, but I kind of love this thing. I want to see if I can really kind of clean this car up and give it the love that it deserves. All right, I'll have more videos coming soon of my fleet of weird and obscure and somewhat broken 80s and 90s vehicles. I'll have a couple new car reviews coming up, and then hopefully maybe I'll take this thing right here on a road trip, assuming I can get that transmission sorted out. That's it for today. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.
From the hassles of the day.